We've got some whoppingly big news straight from the developers themselves for Dawn of War 4, and it's all about the Orks. It has been a great month for the Orks, from trailers to developer updates, and we have some more information that today's video will summarize. In the background is of course the new Dawn of War 4 gameplay trailer covering the Orks no less, because for the developers, well, leaving the Orks out of Dawn of War 4 was never really an option, and just as well because they are of course one of the most iconic factions in the series, right up there with the Blood Ravens. Bringing them back also meant bringing back a familiar face, Warboss Gorgutz, a fan favourite from earlier Dawn of War games and someone who absolutely belongs in this universe. Now, it's not just nostalgia doing the heavy lifting here. What really makes the Orks special, according to the developers, is that they might just be the only faction in Warhammer 40k that is actually always having a good time. These guys live for fighting, war, brutality, and constant violence. That's not a grim necessity for the Orks, that's the point. They fight because they love it, and Dawn of War 4 is clearly leaning hard into that identity. That mindset feeds directly into how Orks play on the battlefield, especially with the return of the Waaagh mechanic. It works like a momentum meter. It fills up the more Orks you've got fighting and the more enemies you kill. When you trigger it, everything kicks into overdrive. Units go full berserker mode, hitting harder, fighting better, and just becoming an unstoppable green tide. By the sounds of it, timing your Waaagh could be a core part of winning games with the Orks. Now expansion is looking like another huge part of their identity. Orks simply don't like to sit still. They overrun territory fast, loot everything they find, and keep pushing outward. They've got some of the cheapest units and buildings in the game, which means if you are ever wondering what to do next as the Orks, well, the developers answer that it's probably just quite simple. Build more stuff, grab more ground, and get ready for the next fight. And as you can imagine, it wouldn't be the Orks without a ridiculous amount of Dakka. The developers highlight the Flash Gitz as a standout unit, elite ranged infantry armed with absurdly over-engineered snaz guns that just vomit bullets downrange, perfect for cracking enemies' defenses and doing it very loudly. Then you've got the Squighog Riders, fast, aggressive beast snagger boys riding snarling beasts straight into enemy lines. They look great for hitting forward positions quickly and causing chaos where your opponent least wants it. Add to that flexible units like Meganobz that can be customized with different weapon loadouts, depending on whether you want long-range firepower or close-ranged destruction. You've got combi rockets for long-range firepower, or combi scorchers for the short-range area of effect damage. Either way, it's clear that the Orks are built to adapt on the fly. Now, before we move on to the second half of the video with new information, I did just want to say a really big thank you to everyone who's supporting the channel. And if you're a veteran over here and enjoy the content, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, it really helps me out. Speaking of veterancy though, another interesting detail from the developers is how fast that Orks gain their veterancy. Compared to other factions, they level up quicker, unlock upgrades sooner, and can start adding extra models to units early on. More bodies, more guns, more damage, very on brand. Now lore-wise, there's something important going on too. In a galaxy of endless wars, sometimes the Orks run out of enemies to be fighting there and then. When that happens, they actually fight each other. Orks are obsessed with one question above all else: who's the biggest, who's the best, and who's the boss? This of course brings us to the big narrative hook in Dawn of War 4. The game opens with Warboss Gorgutz, but this time he's not unchallenged. The developers used his return as a perfect opportunity to introduce a rival, an upstart beast snagger boss named Guzcutta. Old school Orks versus the new breed. Speaking of new breeds, if you are a new breed here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed. I do actually have plans for a deep dive video looking at the latest trailer, and guess what? I've spotted one unit is actually belonging to the Adeptus Mechanicus that a lot of people just aren't talking about. and mostly because I believe it's the first time we've seen it. I'm still cooking that one though, but hopefully I'll be releasing it soon. Now, Guzcutta is especially interesting because he's basically two commanders in one. Early on, he fights on foot as a super tough beast snagger boss. Later in the campaign though, he unlocks a rideable Squigosaur. Once that happens, Guzcutta becomes faster, deadlier, and backed up by a massive bone-chewing monster that turns charges into absolute carnage. Gorgutz, meanwhile, goes to war in mega armor. He's slower, sure, but that's the trade-off for being an absolute wrecking ball. He's powerful, versatile, and has access to both brutal melee and ranged options. But one standout ability that the developers clearly love is called I'm Outta Here, where Gorgutz teleports out of danger while his Gretchen leaves a pile of bombs behind. It's peak Ork logic, cunning, and explosive. Now between the two, who are you backing? Team Gorgutz or Team Guzcutta, and why? Let me know in the comment section below. Now from all what we've discussed, the trailer really sells all of this energy. Orks swarming the battlefield in massive numbers, Storm Boys blasting in on rockets, Squighog Riders smashing through lines before anyone can react, Flash Gitz swaggering around with the loudest guns imaginable, Deff Dreads stomping forward like walking scrap nightmares, and towering war machines, bristling guns, ready to crush anything in their way. At the center of it all is the Waaagh, that surge of battle frenzy that turns every fight into a rolling green apocalypse. Might makes right, and players ultimately have to choose who leads. Gorgutz of the Bad Moons, who fights with cunning ruthlessness, or Guzcutta of the Snakebites, who fights with ruthless cunningness. Both are brutal, and both are convinced that they deserve to be boss. I have to say that the ability of I'm Outta Here, as described by the developers, where Gorgutz teleports out of danger while his Gretchen leaves a pile of bombs behind, sounds absolutely awesome, and I cannot wait to see it in action. But what about you guys? What unit from the trailer stood out to you the most? Was it the Flash Gitz, Squighog Riders, Deff Dreads, or something else entirely? Now the developers say that there is of course lots more to reveal between now and launch, but this first deep dive into the Orks makes one thing very clear. Dawn of War 4 is going loud, aggressive, and unapologetically orky. What we don't know yet is which faction details will be coming next. Personally, I'm kind of hoping for the Necrons. But what about you guys? Let me know in the comment section below. And before you click off, I do indeed cover the Orks in a lot more detail, looking at all the units that have been revealed so far from the trailers, and I'll leave it as an end card on your screen right now. Either way, take care, and see you next time.